The city of Chester has a rich history dating back to the earliest days of the country. The Commonwealth's namesake, William Penn, first set foot in Pennsylvania in Chester on October 29, 1682. For the better part of 300 years, Chester thrived. Home to Sun Shipbuilding Company, who during World War II operated 4 shipyards, employing more than 40,000 workers, building an amazing 281 tankers, roughly 40% of all the U.S. tankers built during that time. Scott Paper, having opened its first plant in the 1890s, called Chester home for nearly 100 years before merging with Kimberly-Clark. The city, however, saw major economic declines through the 70s and 80s, with the loss of much of its economic base, including the sale of Sun Ship in 1982 and its eventual closing in 1989. The city hit rock bottom in the 1990s with the loss of many jobs and its control of the Chester Upland School District to the state. The Commonwealth is still managing the school system 12 years later. Recently, the city of Chester has undergone an economic resurgence, with recent investments topping $1 billion. This led to the creation of thousands of new employment opportunities. Sadly, despite these economic successes, many residents were ill-prepared to compete for the available jobs. There are a myriad of social and educational barriers preventing the available workforce in Chester from achieving gainful employment. Perhaps more importantly, these barriers affect the children currently attending school in Chester. United Way proposed a summit to be held among key relevant stakeholders to create a task-focused agenda for the redevelopment of an effective education and employability infrastructure in Chester. The methodology chosen for the summit was Future Search, a facilitation method used to focus a strategic, whole-system conversation for the future of Chester. Future Search is based on 4 principles: getting the whole system in the room, exploring the same global context as a backdrop for local action, focusing on the future and common ground rather than conflicts and problems, inviting self-management and personal responsibility for action during and after the conference. In order to get the whole system in the room, United Way recruited 16 well-respected community, education, and workforce development leaders to plan the summit details. They worked hard to identify 8 key individuals from each of the following stakeholder groups: business, government, nonprofit organizations, faith-based institutions, education leadership, institutions of higher education, community partners, parents, students, and teachers. After the individuals registered on the first afternoon, they gather into their respective groups and are welcomed by Lou Malman, president of the United Way of Southeast Delaware County, and organizer of the meeting. What better way is there to start the summer of 2007 than to get this group together to try to figure out how we can make Chester a better city? The stakeholders are then addressed by Wendell Butler, Mayor of Chester.
And as I look around this room here, I think that each and every one of you has something that you can put on the table.
Gwen Smith, president of Springfield Hospital.
We cannot survive in healthcare without having skillful people graduating from college and from high school with the training they need to take on our jobs.
And Kathy Schultz, Empowerment Board member.
Because I saw that this was a moment when things are really beginning to turn around. And it seems as if this is a time when things are lined up, when we all can work together to make a difference.
Facilitators Marie McCormick and Liz Alperin Solms give an overview of the Future Search process and promise the group that the outcome will be a shared agenda. Marie explains to the participants that they are the system, explaining why they were invited.
It's our community, our schools, our workforce, daring to create a shared future. That is our work.
The stakeholders are treated to dinner. Afterwards, they add the present to the timeline. Following a continental breakfast on the second day of the summit, the groups continue to focus on present, building common ground, and hear from Secretary of Education Gerald Zahorchak.
We're investing in early childhood education from birth to age 3, and every community should be doing that. Birth to age 3, the Nurse-Family Partnership, a research-based program.
Liz addresses the members and assembles them into their stakeholder groups to make mini mind maps.
To do a mini mind map, and we mean mini, from your stakeholder perspective.
Each focusing on 4 major topics. What are we doing now? What should we stop doing? What do we want to be doing? What is a really bold idea to move Chester forward? Remaining in their groups, they then start prouds and sorries, a future search process aimed at achieving alignment by identifying 3 points of what participants are most proud and sorry for.
We're proud of this thing called Chester Pride, and that sense of wanting to give back to Chester.
We also are proud of our increasing in numbers of our diversity in our workplace within the city of Chester. We know we're not where we need to be, but we are a lot better than we were 5 years ago.
The things we're sorriest of, number one, is just lack of collaboration within the entire community.
Also sorry that we can't be involved more with the school activities that happen during the day, because some of us have to work, and we really do want to be involved, but we just can't.
Marie opens the meeting on the final day of the summit, directing stakeholders in designing a plan for the future.
That we will set direction for the community, that others who weren't in this room will be able to read what comes out of here and say, I got it. I know the direction. It won't be all the nitty-gritty details. The I's won't be dotted. The T's won't be crossed. But I get the direction that this group that came together for 3 days from across our community, that they agreed. That's the direction that we need to take together, united, for the education and employability of the youth and young adults of Chester.
The common ground statements and raw ideas that the members presented are linked together using large group discussions. Self-selected groups worked on integrating the elements for each focus area into a statement written as though in the future, but in the present tense. Eventually, the entire conference must agree on the specific wording, ensuring the alignment of all conference members on the vision of the future. The committees first picked 2 or 3 co-chairpersons who will be responsible for reconvening the group. Each group was also charged with developing a group plan for widening the circle, bringing other community resources to the table. With the next step in the process, the stakeholders choose a vision statement that best suits what they want to accomplish for Chester and form action plan committees.